everyone. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast, April 22nd, 2021. It is episode 29 to be exact, I believe. I'll have to double check that. But we begin not with the irrelevant New York Knicks, but with the could not be more relevant Brooklyn Nets. And Mike, this has just been a few months from absolute hell. Just all this talk about, will the big three play together? Will they get any time on the court, be able to build that chemistry for the playoffs? That's basically gone now. James Harden suffered a setback, I guess, in a 4-4 scrimmage on Monday. They shut him down for 10 days previously, and that injury, the setback, occurred around 2 weeks after the fact. So you have to think that he's going to be shut down here for a minimum of 2 weeks, and then hope for no setbacks after that. And this is just complete worst case scenario right now for the Nets. My panic meter could not be higher. I am I feel like the air has been deflated out of my system.
I'm not putting the panic meter at 10 yet, but I do think it's time to start worrying a little bit, just in the sense that when the Nets are healthy, they're as good, if not better, than anyone in the entire NBA. The issue is they can't seem to stay healthy. Kevin Durant's been out with a minor injury that turned into a major MIA period for him. James Harden tweaked his hamstring. Now he's going to be out possibly up to a month with a tweaked hamstring. That doesn't bode itself well moving forward. When they're all healthy and on the court, which we have very rarely seen, we assume they'll be a well-oiled offensive machine, and defensively they'll be just good enough to knock off any team in the East and the West for that matter. But at some point, the war of attrition has to sink in. And as it stands right now, the Nets, despite being extremely deep and still relevant without two of their best players, have to get some semblance of continuity and a rotation down and some semblance of a offensive connection rhythm heading into the postseason, because I think there are three teams in the East that are all pretty darn good, especially with the Nets not being at 100%.
So, and then Durant gets hurt again on Sunday. Like 4 minutes. I feel like every time I take my eye off a Nets game for any prolonged period of time, someone else gets hurt. It's really unbelievable. Durant got hurt the other day. They're saying he'll be back either Friday against the Celtics or Sunday against the Suns, which could be we'll talk about the Suns. The Suns, my God. Chris Paul, all you have to do is see the value of Chris Paul. I know he's never been even to the conference finals, or maybe one time to the conference finals with the Rockets. All you have to do is look at what the Thunder were last year and what the Thunder are this year, and compare it to what the Suns were last year, what the Suns are this year. And the only thing that's really changed in those two instances is Chris Paul. The way he's been able to transform those two franchises is really remarkable. And if you really want to talk about MVP, I know Jokic gets all the love. Embiid, that would have been the greatest shot in NBA history if that went down last night. That went down last night against the Suns. 116, 113. A full court heave that was 60% of the way down and rimmed out. It was one of the most amazing shots. But Chris Paul, man, the value that he brings to a team. If you're talking about most valuable player, how could you not say it's Chris Paul?
Yeah, he's stayed healthy. I think other guys, had they been healthy, are more valuable to their individual team. But Chris Paul will go down as, one of the 5 or 6 best point guards to ever play basketball. And if he is able to, and I don't think the Suns are good enough to win a championship, but Chris Paul's had his postseason failures, and he's come up short multiple times in the postseason, partly because of his inability to stay healthy, which seems to be the theme of this entire season, which is kind of ironic because he's been healthy for the majority of this season. But yeah, he's unbelievable. He's elite. He makes everyone around you better. And maybe the thing that's not talked about enough with Paul, but maybe is most impressive, is he demands excellence from everyone around him. And you look at the Thunder team last year. That team had no business being a 5 seed, but he brings everyone up to a level that they can't achieve without his vision and saying, hey, I think you can be this good. You have to put the work in to get there, but I'll help you do it. And all of a sudden, the Thunder are a 5 seed with Lou Dort as their 3rd best player. It makes no sense. He's that good of a leader. He's that good of a player. And when it comes to crunch time in the last 3 minutes of a game in a tight contest, I'm not sure if there are 3 players in the league you'd rather have with the ball in their hands than Chris Paul. His ability to get almost any shot he wants, despite being short and unathletic at this point of his career, is uncanny. And he's still, as far as passing goes, just an elite passer.
So, Mike, I was looking at the back to the Eastern Conference here. I was looking at the playoff picture. So the Nets, despite only going 5-5 in their past 10 games and really sort of leveling out since Harden's injury again. Sorry. So so right now they're in the 2 speed, only half spot of the Sixers, which is still remarkable considering how poorly the Nets have played. But obviously, I'm not sure how this play-in tournament's going to go and who's going to get what seed. But the Heat are an atrocious matchup for the Nets, and the Wizards are an atrocious matchup for the Nets. So I just feel like if they end up facing one of those 2 teams in the first round, I would be terrified because Westbrook is playing just like an absolute animal. I know he's not really scoring. He's had his moments scoring, but he gets like 20 rebounds. Like, what kind of guard gets 20 rebounds in a game? I've honestly, in our lifetime, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. And the Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson trio is just absolutely lethal, especially against the Nets because those guys seem to get wide open looks, and the Nets have no answer for Bam Adebayo. 0, and he will eat them alive in the playoffs.
More than anything else, the Nets need the 1 seed, not to avoid whoever ends up in the 7 or the 8, but to avoid having to play both Philadelphia and Milwaukee.
No. Milwaukee is not a threat. I don't view them as a threat to us.
But it not necessarily a threat to beat them, but if you have to go through Milwaukee before taking on Philadelphia, Milwaukee's not going to roll over. Imagine the first round series against Miami, a second round series against Milwaukee. The Nets can't stay healthy in the regular season when no one plays defense. Now these teams who are physical, athletic, they can switch Drew Holiday and Giannis to elite defenders. Chris Middleton's a really good defender in his own right. You get through those 2, and then you have Philadelphia, who's the most physical, most defensively imposing of the entire Eastern Conference, maybe the entire league. That's just a gauntlet to get to an NBA Finals. I think the Nets can do it if they're healthy, but we've seen that they struggle to stay healthy in the regular season. I don't know what would indicate the fact that they would finally be able to stay healthy in a condensed, shortened playoff schedule against 3 physical teams like that. So more than avoiding an early matchup, I just think not having to play both of those teams before the Eastern Conference Finals is a big thing for the Nets, even though they're the best team in the conference when they're right.
I just hope that, I'm just hoping and praying that Harden gets back here. And these back-to-backs the NBA does have just completely just killed. They're killing us. They're killing our teams. And I hate when we have to rest all these guys in the second half of back-to-back. And that's when guys get prone to injuries, when you're making them overwork and overcompensate and not do the natural motions. And this truncated season is just, with the back-to-backs, has been really, really tough to take. And I'm honestly sick of it.
It's been a disaster.
Moving on to the Knicks. And man, it's been 7 years since I've had to deal with Knicks, 7 or 8 years since I've had to deal with Knicks fans on social media. And man, they are relentless. They are just over. I mean, I've never seen, they are just so jubilant right now. If you didn't know any better, you would think they would just won their first championship since 1973. They are so ballistic. Over 8 straight wins. They're the 4th seed in the East. And this reminds me of why I couldn't stand the Knicks when they're relevant. Because their fans are some of the most intolerable in sports, and that's where I stand. I can't stand them.
It's funny how, and first off, congratulations to Knicks fans.
Yeah.
Because as Net fans, we have been through the gutter with you guys, and we are equally as exuberant that our team is actually good for the first time in forever. So I'm never going to take away or shame a fan base for being excited when their team is finally competent after years and years and years of incompetence. But let me just remind you all this. Thibodeau does this in his first year everywhere. His teams are always really, really good in his first season at the helm. The players buy in. They play defense. They play their butts off. They hustle. But do you know who leads the league in minutes this year, Frank?
Julius Randle.
Do you know who's second?
Is it Barrett?
Yes.
Is it really RJ Barrett? Wow.
1 and 2 in the league in minutes. Jokic is third.
Good. That's good. Well done on your research there. That's impressive.
It is not sustainable. It's sustainable for a year, but then Julius Randle, his body starts to break down, and these elite players don't want to play 44 minutes a game every day in the regular season. They don't want to practice that hard. So I don't want to say it's fool's gold, but I would not see this and be like, oh yeah, the Knicks are set up for the next 5 years of greatness. They're not. Thibodeau doesn't have it in them.
All right, so during their 8 straight wins, they've beaten Memphis, trash. Raptors, trash. Lakers without LeBron and AD, trash. Pelicans on April 14th. Okay. I mean, the Pelicans, they're not even the playoff picture in the West. They might be the single most disappointing team in the NBA this year. The fact that you got Zion and Ingram and Lonzo, and you can't compete for a playoff spot, I mean, that is just an utter disgrace. Zion's like playing, like Zion, as Bill Simmons always says, like one of the most exciting players to watch, drops 30 night in and night out, and yet they're going to miss the playoffs. And that's a damn shame for everyone because the NBA deserves Zion in the playoffs. The Mavericks, I'm not really sure what's going on with them, but that was a nice one. I'll give them that. Pelicans again.
I watched that game. It was a good one.
Pelicans again in overtime. Okay. Hornets stink. And then the Hawks were going to win last night until Trae Young got hurt, and that completely swung the momentum of that game. So see what one or two of the eight wins. So they got the Raptors coming up next on Saturday. They'll probably be a win. Then they got the Suns on Monday. Give me the Suns to absolutely bring them back to life. And
it's a second game of a back-to-back for the Suns. So it's not even
they're going to go all in and try to beat the Nets on Sunday and then lose. Yeah, you're right. The Knicks might run the table here, and then yeah. And then their fan base will just, I mean, they'll whatever. Insufferable. But
listen, last thing on the Knicks. It's amazing how many people you didn't even know like basketball until the Knicks are good, and then all of a sudden, Knicks tape, we're back. Glory. And I'm like, where have y'all been for 8 years?
I went on a mute fest last night. Just like I can't take this anymore. I guess because you look at the contenders in the East, like the Nets have been without Harden for the past like month. Durant's played like 3 games in the past since like January. Irving goes through. He has to go through. The Simmons and Tobias Harris are like in and out of the lineup for the Sixers. Giannis has been out of the lineup for a good stretch of time for the Bucks. Like all the Lakers are without LeBron and AD. All these like elite teams in the NBA they're missing their best players, and their best players are hurt. The only ones that have really stayed healthy are the Jazz, Suns, and
Knicks.
And Knicks. Yeah, there's pretty much those 3 teams that are in terms of like in solid playoff positions that have not had to deal with injuries. Now Kawhi Leonard's out for like a week at least. It's just everywhere you look, people are hurt except for the Knicks. You think they just have to catch up with them at some point, just because
they didn't even play in the bubble last year, so they actually had a full off season. Which
so the Suns play in the bubble too, but they managed to stay relatively healthy.
But they didn't play in the postseason. They were there. I mean, but I'm just saying they've had longer breaks than some of these teams that made deep playoff runs that are now, catastrophically crippling at the hinges. The Nets also didn't play past the bubble, so it's on an individual team basis. But yeah,
just something to look at. Either way, all right. Moving on to the pathetic Yankees. You're 6-11. First time they've been this bad since 1991. They're absolute garbage. Let's go through our grades for every single player here. Every single starting player, relevant starting player. Mike, let's start with. We'll go basically in order the lineup looks. We'll start with DJ LeMahieu. What is your grade for their great DJ LeMahieu?
Okay, so DJ's a guy that we expect way more from. Now, he has not been horrible this year. He's batting .277. That leads the team. But 5 of the last 6 years, he's batted over 300. And 4 of those 6 years has been 320 plus. So he's almost down 50 points in batting average. He does have a team-leading 18 hits. He's been versatile in the field. I gave him a C+. He hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been great. He's been okay. But I gave him a C+.
He's missed a ton of huge. I mean, the 2 that come right off the top of my head. First game of the season, extra innings, 1 on third, 1 out. I mean, the game's tied in the bottom of the 9th inning. You have to get that ball to the outfield, and he grounds out, I believe, to third base, and they get Talkman out at home. Just after he had stolen 2 bases, that's a game I'll remember the rest of the year.
Yep.
And then last night against the Braves, down 3-0, bases loaded, 2 outs, chance to really, really change the fortunes of the Yankees season, and fails to come through again. Just a really, really tough. I gave him a C+ as well, just because the fact that he's been so subpar compared to what we expect, and he's still leading the team in hitting. That's really a referendum on the rest of this team and how pathetic they are.
Yes.
Next up is Giancarlo Stanton, and this is pretty easy for everyone. He's 3 for his last 34. He's hitting .158. Does have 3 homers and a team-leading 12 RBIs, but I don't care. He gets an F-. I cannot watch him. He has some of the worst hitting mechanics I've ever seen. It's all arms. He doesn't plant his feet, doesn't move his feet. He is intolerable. I would designate him for assignment. Get him off the team. I don't care what it costs. It's not my money. I can't take another second of watching Carlos Stanton play. He is my least favorite Yankee of all time, and he is completely strapped us and from making any reasonable move. Get him off the team. I don't care whatever it costs. That's all I got to say about Stanton. F- for Carlos Stanton.
After my little kerfuffle with him at spring training, our senior year of college, Frank, I've been terrified of the man. And he has just done nothing to help his cause since coming to the Yankees because he's been atrocious. I gave him a D- only because he leads the team in RBIs. That has to count for something.
No.
But how about this for a stat, Frank? He has 21 strikeouts and 57 at-bats. He strikes out 37% of the time that he's at the plate. He can't hit anything, but when he does make contact, he sends rockets to the moon. So we got a D-, and I'm probably being a little bit gracious there because he's batting 158. A guy getting paid $30+ million a year is batting 158. And guess what? More than half the team is barely batting above 200. It's atrocious. We'll get to that in a sec. Who's next? You gave him an F-, I gave him a D-.
Let's go with Gio Urshela. Left Wednesday night's game with back tightness, so he'll probably miss like the next 3 months. But Gio, when he's been there, he's been great. I give him a B+. I give him a B+.
He got my highest grade, second on the team in hits, second on total bases, 276 batting average. He's played a couple different spots on defense. I gave him a B. It's opposite of what we said with LeMahieu, where you expect so much from LeMahieu. Like anything you get from Urshela just feels like extra gravy to the cake or an extra cupcake at the party. But no one else is bringing anything. It's like, oh, Gio Urshela is great when he's the 5th choice of desserts, but when all the parents forget the bake sales happening that day and Gio Urshela is the only thing you have showing up, you don't want Gio Urshela. Like, he can't be the leader of a team.
What I love about Urshela is that he uses all fields. Well, him and LeMahieu, but right now it's Urshela's been a lot. Well, even though he has a slower batting, I think he got off to a really slow start, but he's really crept up over the past couple of weeks. But I love when he shoots the ball the other way. He's got sneaky power, elite fielder. Just a huge fan of the guy, and it's really unfortunate that he went down on Wednesday night. Hopefully, knowing the Yankees, he's probably going to miss the next 2 games at least, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Next up is Gleyber Torres. What is your grade for Gleyber Torres?
F-, and that's the easiest one to do. He's batting 186, 0 home runs, 1 RBI. I put in all caps, Frank. How is that possible? And on top of him being incompetent at the plate, he's been like crap in the field. He has shown nothing to make me believe that he's a full-time shortstop on the major league level. His arm is his range is And right now, this dude who was an MVP candidate just 2 seasons ago seems like he's absolutely lost and has no confidence in himself and no idea what he's doing in any facet of the game.
I give him an F- as well. I mean, it's April 22nd. He has no home runs, and he has 1 more RBI than you and me. 1 more RBI. This guy plays every single day. His fielding after that first really, really rough first week or so of the season has really not been an issue. The Yankees aren't losing because Gleyber Torres is a shortstop ability. But his inability to just play baseball and hit the ball it's so pathetic. This is a dude that was like praised as the next great shortstop of the Yankees, the next great Yankee to be along.
He looked like it at one point.
I don't know what happened. I feel like the Yankees need to just send him to the alternate site. Just send him down there for a week. Just let him gain some confidence and hit the ball and then bring him back up. I feel like this is what he. You know what? Also, there was a point where Gleyber Torres were the goggles or the glasses, and he played great. I think maybe he's just not seeing the ball and he doesn't know it. He's got to go back to wearing those yellow glasses or whatever he was wearing, because when he was wearing those, that was the best version of. I believe that was in 2019. He wore the yellow glasses. That was the best version of Gleyber Torres we ever saw.
Well, I'll tell you this, as someone who played baseball for 10 years without contacts and then got contacts, it does make a difference if you can see or cannot see where the baseball is coming from. So yeah, if he needs to get his eyes checked out, by all means, go get your eyes checked out, Gleyber, because this is not anything resembling the player that we thought you could be, 18 months ago? 2 years? He's an MVP candidate 2 years ago, Frank. He looked like the future, maybe not a captain of the Yankees, but a future centerpiece of this organization. And now, once again, like you said, he has 1 more RBI than you and I combined.
I checked. So it was last year he wore the glasses, and So the 5 games after he started wearing his glasses, he batted 500. So yeah, bring back the glasses. Next up is Aaron Hicks. He gets another F-. What an absolute disgrace. 154, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. Just he's got 15 strikeouts and 52 at bats. I mean, he is so. I can't believe the Yankees are locked into him for another like 3 or 4 years. I would DFA him too. Get him off the team. He stinks. He doesn't hustle. He's got no ability to fight. They love his walks. He's only like walked like 3 or 4 times this year. The actual number is he has 7 walks this year, but he stinks. I can't take another second of Aaron Hicks.
So I gave him an F. I did not hold the lack of clutch hitting against LeMahieu like I probably should have. I do hold it against Hicks because I remember 3 times that I've actually watched him. I think he popped up the first and struck out twice in 3 different clutch situations. And I went back and looked at the numbers, Frank. He hasn't been good since 2018. He had that really promising 2018 year before he got the contract extension. In 2019, he hit 335. In 2020, he hit 225. This year, he's hitting 154.
He hit 335?
The dude can't hit. What?
He hit 335?
235 and then
235.
225.
Got it.
If I said it's 235 and then 225 and then 154 his last 3 seasons. The dude cannot be a 3 hitter. And why we keep putting him out there in the 3-hole spot to see pitches and get on base because he walked. His on base percentage isn't great either. It's hard to have a good on base percentage when you can't hit the ball. And he just strikes out nonstop. I gave him an F. He's frustrating. And his defense, once again, at one point was an elite defender. And I haven't watched enough games to tell you if he's still on that level or not, but I don't know.
Last up is Clint Frazier. And
he's Sanchez.
Oh, yes. Gary Sanchez, D. I gave him a D. He got off to a hot start.
I gave him a D2. I gave him a D2.
His batting average is down at 200. Like I said, got off to the good start. Really, really struggled since. The fact that he doesn't put his hand behind his back when he's catching and they get hit square on the thumb. I mean, what are you doing? That's baseball 101. Put your hand behind your back. It's so not. I mean, I don't know what I've asked like people. There was no benefit in leaving your throwing hand right next to your catching glove. It's like the dumbest thing you could do as a catcher, and the fact that he does that, it just doesn't make any sense. But Gary's so talented. Gary's so talented, and it's very frustrating that he's not able to put it all together because he's got all the ability in the world. This 2019 season was so unbelievable. And the way when he came up, I'll never forget when he came up in 2016. It was the most unbelievable hitting display I've ever seen, and he's never been able to replicate it. And it's very sad. Last up is Clint Frazier. What is your grade for Clint Frazier?
I gave him a D with an incomplete next to it because he has 20 less at bats than some of the other guys we're judging. So it's not a full sample size, but he's still only hitting 175, 1 RBI. He's been disappointing. I mean, this is a guy that I've been, campaigning for a long time now. And I really think that he has just insane amounts of potential. And he wasn't getting the at-bats when I thought he should have been the last 2 seasons. And now he's getting enough at-bats to kind of judge him. He hasn't been good, but no one on the team has been good. So I have a hard time singling out him. I gave him a D with an incomplete room to grow, but he hasn't been good. All
right, so he gets another F-. I mean, just completely lost the plate. You have one. He didn't get his first RBI until last night. He went 70 straight at bats without a single RBI. Just absolutely pathetic. This is your chance, Clint. What are you doing? You're completely blowing it. I defended you all these years, and this is how you repay me by going out there and hitting 175 with 1 RBI. I mean, come on. You're so much better than that. I can't believe it. So that I have Stan F-, Torres F-, Hicks F-, Clint Frazier F-. That is 4 F- for the 6 and 11 New York Yankees. Absolute disgrace. They got a 4-game set that starts with Cleveland tonight, and I don't expect anything positive to happen. I'm expecting.
Do they have to face Shane Bieber?
It's Cole against Bieber on Saturday. Get ready.
It's going to be a 2-0 Cleveland win. Yankees strike out 24 times.
Shane Bieber's going to pitch a perfect game on Saturday. You heard it here first. Let's move on to the NFL draft gets underway 1 week from Thursday. So, Mike, I'll just go through the props here real quick. First overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. Either minus 10,000 or minus 100,000, depending on where you shop. That is a lock. Second overall pick, Zach Wilson, is minus 3,000, depending on where you look. That is a lock. Chris Sims, I heard on Rusilla's podcast, has Wilson as his number one ranked quarterback. And the reason why that's somewhat relevant is because he had Patrick Mahomes as his number 1 quarterback in 2017. So he's got a nice little track record here of knowing which quarterbacks hit and which quarterbacks miss. But here's the thing that I'll never get over with the Jets. I don't care. The environment that he is going into, Zach Wilson, is so unstable that to expect him to do anything is just so unreasonable. The Jets would have been better off, and I'll maintain this until I'm wrong, keeping Darnold, trading back, drafting a Kyle Pitts, and just reloading and adding more pieces to try to create some more stability as opposed to getting a guy like Zach Wilson and putting him in this environment where it's just so hard for guys to succeed. And all you got to do is look at the 49ers. I have no idea what they're going to do at 3. It's still unbelievable. I don't know what they're hiding because we know who the first 2 picks are. They have nothing to lose by saying who they're picking. I don't know why unless Kyle Shanahan just creates such satisfaction out of just playing this mind games with the public.
I mean, I think they could have had an idea of who they wanted at 3 when they made the trade, and I think they're totally entitled and okay with changing their mind. And I think that's kind of what we've seen happen. It seemed like Mac Jones was the inevitable 3rd pick, and the more and more you wait and listen, and Justin Fields has his second pro day and everything, sounds like Fields is the guy that they're leaning towards, and I agree with that assessment.
It's crazy how much people are the overanalyzation of the quarterbacks here. If that's even a word in the past couple of days. You have Justin Fields has epilepsy. Mac Jones got a DUI. Trevor Lawrence doesn't love football, and Zach Wilson has never beat any good teams in college. Literally,
he wasn't a captain, and he wasn't a captain.
Right. It's absurd how much nitpicks they are. But so if you would have bet in the 3rd pick right now, Fields is the new favorite at -115. Mac Jones +110. Trey Lance +400. Where are you putting your money?
Am I trying to make money, or who do I actually think is the pick?
Well, obviously the value is of Trey Lance, but who do you think is going to be the pick?
I think it's going to be Fields. I don't think you trade up for a guy, or you trade up that high for a guy who is a limited athlete. And I think Fields offers – Mac Jones may be better right now, but it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to move on from Garoppolo, which makes me inclined to believe, all right, they're going to give Fields half a season to sit and learn, or even a full season, and then give him the reins next year and have 4 years on the rookie contract to still build the pieces around the team where it lies. If they were able to move Garoppolo, then I think Jones is the pick. He's ready to step in, play immediately. But if Garoppolo's on that roster, I mean, Jimmy G and Mac Jones, they're the same person in my mind. Maybe Mac Jones is a little better version of Jimmy G, but they offer almost identical skill sets. Justin Fields opens your playbook. Quarterback runs. He's more dynamic. He's built like a tank. I think he's got a better arm than Mac Jones. He may not be able to process things as quickly at this stage of his career, but you put him under Shanahan's tutelage with those weapons around him, and that just gives you another dimension. But I also think Kyle Pitts would be just unfair in that offense. I saw you tweet about it.
I did. And I will gain so much respect for Kyle Shanahan if he got Pitts. Because if you got Pitts and Kittle, I mean, good luck. Just good luck trying to defend that. I mean, that would just be that would be better than Gronk and Hernandez. That would be the best tight end duo in the history of the league, hands down. Not even close.
Immediately.
And Shanahan wouldn't do it, but if he did do it, I would be like, oh my God, you are more of a genius than I ever could.
All right. So what happened? What if they do this though? All right. They trade up to 3, right?
They're taking a quarterback.
What if they trade back down?
They're not.
But I'm just saying.
No, I'm not entertaining that. I'm not even entertaining that.
What if Miami trades back up from 6?
No, they're not. No, Miami's only trading back. No, wrong. Sorry. First 3 picks are all quarterbacks.
Just throwing it out there.
Now, what happened? So let's take a look at some over-unders for guys. And this is very, very interesting. So Penei Sewell's over-under 5.5. Kyle Pitts is over-under 5.5. Let me just double check. I wrote down 5.5 for Jamar Chase too. So that can't be right. Let me just check out what I had for Chase.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll tell you, I would take the over for Sewell and the under for Pitts.
So, all right. So this is very fascinating. So I was right. Sewell, Chase, and Pitts, according to William Hill, all over under 5.5. They're over unders for picks. And listen, the Falcons, there's so much buzz. They could end up trading their pick to the Patriots or something. What happens at 4 is anyone's best guess. I think if the Falcons make the pick, I'd like to believe they're drafting Kyle Pitts, but man, you could tell me a million different things of what happens at 4, and I have no idea. Penei Sewell, So the Bengals are picking 5th. You'd think that after Joe Burrow got hurt last year, they know they have to upgrade an offensive tackle, and they would draft
They're
Penny
taking
Sewell.
a pass catcher. They're taking a pass catcher.
Which
I'm
one?
shocked that they did.
Chase?
If Pitts is there, they take Pitts.
So Pitts is going 4th. I think. All right, Pitts is going 4th. That's pretty much locked in.
Then I think they take Chase at 5.
So you're going under on Pitts, and you're going under on Chase.
And I go over on Sewell, yes.
Well, yeah, obviously by default. That's. I mean, I think of. That's so hard because if you're the Bengals, like it's so easy to get sucked into the hype of wanting a big time receiver.
It's not what I would do. I just think it's what's going to happen.
So what would you do?
I take Sewell at 5.
Okay.
If you have a young quarterback that's got his knee busted up,
you have to. I mean, I don't think I don't really believe they've upgraded that much in terms of their offensive line during the offseason. So
no.
If I were them, as much as it would be not sexy and not attractive to the fan base, you got to get the tackle. Do
you know what's sexy? Do you know what's sexy?
Winning.
Joe Burrow, standing upright, throwing passes without 3 guys in his face. That's sexy. You can find receivers later. It's a deep receiver class. There's not many Sewells, or even if they took Slater. I think Slater's really, really, really good too.
First non-quarterback drafted, it's got to be Kyle Pitts, right? He's got to be it.
Agreed.
Only -110, but who knows? Total quarterbacks drafted in the first round, over under 5.5. So we know there's 5 off the bat.
6. It's gonna be 6.
You think it's gonna be? You think that dude out of Miles Davis, whatever his name is,
Stanford or Kyle Trask or somebody?
It's not Miles Davis. It's something Davis. Davis Mills.
Davis Mills. Yes, I think it's over. I think a team will trade up very late into the first round, similarly to how Baltimore did with Lamar Jackson, because that extra first round, the extra pick they give up, isn't equal in value to that 5th year control of the quarterback. That 5th year of control of the quarterback is, in my opinion, still the most valuable commodity in football right now.
Running backs, over under is a half for the first round. Over under half a running back in the first round. I thought it would be like at least 1.5.
I take the over.
By the way, Bovada took off. You cannot no longer parlay NFL draft props on Bovada. I guess.
Did you already get yours in?
Yeah, I got mine in like weeks ago. But I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm starting to get a little worried here. I just want the draft to be over with already so I could just know. Because, as we said, Trevor Lawrence is going first. Zach Wilson is going second. Kyle Pitts is going to be drafted in the top 10. Jamar Chase is going to be the first receiver off the board. Michael Parsons is going to be the first linebacker. Patrick King is going to be the first corner. And Penei Sewell's odds to be the first offensive lineman drafted have gone from -1,000 to -425. And that has me absolutely shaking in my chair.
Slater's really good, man. I really like.
You cannot take Rashawn Slater over Penei Sewell. Like, get it together, people.
I wouldn't, but I'm telling you, I hope the Giants, if he's there at 11, I would take Slater at 11.
Well, Penei Sewell's going in the top 10. So I should mention 5.5 quarterbacks. The over is +350. The under is -450. So it's heavily juiced to the under. Last one that we'll hit on here, unless you have any others that you want to hit on. The Giants. No one really knows what they're going to do. Their odds to take an offensive or defensive player in the draft is -110 on both sides. So you're gambling. So what the hell are the Giants going to do? Because I could really feel like a value spot because I feel like they're going to take a receiver, but I have no idea.
If it's off, I feel like they're going offense. I feel pretty confident they'll take an offensive player. I will lose my mind if they take one of the defensive ends because none of them, if they trade back.
It would be Parsons.
What?
It would be Parsons.
Possibly. Possibly.
Unless Patrick Surtain falls to 11.
I've seen enough drafts mock drafts. They had Kwity Paye out of Michigan or Jalen Phillips from Miami, who I will lose my mind at either. I'll be livid at either. I've been dying for a pass rusher defensive lineman for 3 drafts now. This is not the year to splurge early on it. If I'm drafting in an 11th spot, if I'm Dave Gettleman, if Slater's on the board, I take Slater, no questions. If Slater's gone by then, which I think there's a chance he might be as well, I'd take Jalen Waddle over Devonta Smith. But if either of those two are, if the Giants get Slater, Smith, or Waddle, any of those 3, I think it's a home run pick.
It's so hard to forecast. Like, what is Devontae? I mean, Waddle, that whole foot thing scares me, but they're saying he's like Tyreek Hill. Devontae's like Marvin Harris. Like, I don't know. Who knows? If people had these answers, they would be making decisions, and that'd be that. But that'll do it for this edition of the Lucas Podcast. We're back next Friday recapping round 1 of the NFL draft. See you guys next week.